Alright guys, Darren from FBA Elite and welcome back to another video. So one of the questions that I've been getting asked quite frequently, both from new Amazon FBA sellers and also existing Amazon FBA sellers, and that is, how am I handling all of the cost increases we're seeing? Am I making any money? And is it still possible to make money with Amazon FBA at the moment? So what I want to do in this video is give you 4 things to think about, which hopefully will help you with your profitability. We're also going to look at why these costs have gone up, and later on in the video I'm going to show you a comparison of my costs and profit margins at the moment in 2021 versus what they were last year. So up first, let's just kind of look at the background as to why these costs are going up. So the first thing is the producer price index, the PPI. So it's not the insurance scam, but the producer price index in China has risen by 8.8% over the last year. So generally, most people that are buying from suppliers in China will be seeing increases around that figure. And my prices have gone up, and I'll come back to that later in the video. So the Chinese suppliers, their material costs have gone up, so they've pushed their costs up, and that's been passed on all the way down to the customer. The next thing to consider, which you've probably heard about in the news, is the shipping container rates. We're seeing now, look, in July 2021, that rates up 333% from 1 year ago. And I'm going to show you how that stacks up in my profit margin calculations later in this video. That is a massive increase. We know we're seeing container costs around $10,000, which is insane. And you do need a lot of money now to start an Amazon FBA business, as you need so much for shipping, especially if you're bringing in a large or heavy product. Other things to keep in mind are the referral fees and the fulfillment fees have gone up slightly. It's mainly the fulfillment fee. The referral fee is generally still around the 15% mark for most categories. And these are only incremental price increases as well, so they shouldn't take out huge chunks of your profit. But it's certainly something to be aware of. So when you combine the PPI increase, so your material, your supplier cost increase, with the shipping costs and the Amazon FBA fees, you can understand why profit margins are getting squeezed. Now, it's not all bad news, and it is still possible to make money on Amazon at the moment. I'm making money. I know many people that are still profitable on Amazon. And let me talk you through 4 of the main reasons why I'm still making money, and hopefully it will help you make money as well. So up first is the exchange rate. Now, obviously this isn't something we have any control over, but it's certainly something to be aware of. So later in the video, I'm going to show you a comparison from September 2020 to May 2021, as that is when I had the transactions take place. So back in September 2020, the exchange rate was all the way down at around $127 to $129 per GBP. So that's quite low. And since then, things have been improving if you're in the UK, of course, because the GBP has been getting stronger against the US dollar. So when I placed my last order, it was at around about 1.4, 1.41, 1.42. So it's a decent increase in the exchange rate, and that's helped offset a lot of the cost increases we have seen from the supplier. And I'll come back to that later in the video, but it's the first thing to be aware of. The second thing to be aware of is you can increase your price on Amazon. Quite often people haven't necessarily experimented with their ceiling price to find what they can actually sell at. So you can see here, my long-term average around September last year was $27.99 for this particular product. I then had an out-of-stock period here and had to relaunch because the product was out of stock for quite a while. So I dropped the price to help with the product relaunch, and you can see here it only took a few weeks and was able to get back up to that $27.99. I also then started to experiment with my ceiling price. At the time, I was selling too quickly and I knew I was going to be going out of stock. As you can see here, I went out of stock and this massive gap again. So I was able to experiment. So first I bumped the price by £1, gave it a few days, or should I say a couple of weeks here, and then bumped it again. So I knew that there was demand at the higher price point, and I'd recommend to anyone experimenting with that. If you know you're going to be going out of stock, there is no harm in increasing your price a bit to try and find what is the ceiling price for your product. And since then, when I came back into stock, I continued selling at that higher price point. Now I may be able to go slightly higher than I'm at, as there are other people in the niche. So see what other people in your niche are doing and see what the ceiling price is for your particular product. The other thing to be aware of when looking at this graph is you can see here my BSR, which kind of reflects how well your product sells against other products in the same niche, is generally a bit higher now than it was when I was selling at that slightly keener price point. And what I would say, this is down to adjusting your expectations to the niche that you're within. So the market is ever evolving and the costs are going up all the time, as we're seeing. So I've had to adjust my expectations. So I'm happy to sell at a slightly slower rate in order to try and maintain decent profit margins. If I wanted to kind of get the BSR that I see here, I could still achieve that. I'd have to be more aggressive with PPC. I'd probably have to bring that price point back down. But overall, I would be making less money per unit. So it's down to you to find the right balance for you. If you consider adjusting your expectations, you might still be able to make good money within a particular niche by selling at a slightly higher price point, but at a slightly lower rate. But there's certainly something to keep in mind. So there's three things so far. It's exchange rate, there's adjusting your price, and also adjusting your expectations, as sometimes a few less sales at a higher profit margin are preferable to more sales at a lower profit margin. Then finally, one thing that I tweaked towards the end of 2020 is I stopped using PPC or traditional PPC keyword ads. Instead, I switched purely to sponsored video ads. Now, they're only available for people that are brand registered. So if you're becoming an Amazon FBA seller, make sure you get your trademark application in as soon as possible so that you can join brand registry and get access to sponsored video ads. And what this graph here, this shows my ACOS from when I first started actually selling on Amazon. So the first couple of months where there was kind of a lot less competition within the niche that I was in, you can see here ACOS bounced around between 23, 24% down to 13%. That's a really good one, back up to 20. But generally speaking, we've kind of knocked around the 20 to 30% mark for most of those campaigns. Now, when I got the sponsored video ads approved at the end of 2020, as you can see here, these ads massively outperform traditional adverts. So I now exclusively only use sponsored video ads, and by keeping my ACOS down towards 10, 11, 12%, that means I'm actually making a bit more profit from these sales than I was when I was paying 20 to 30% ACOS. So that's something to keep in mind if you're running traditional ads. Can you do a sponsored video ad? Obviously, the results you'll get from that advert will very much depend on the niche and the quality of the video, your sponsored video that you put together. But for me, that is clear evidence here that my ACOS is probably half what it was over the last year or so, because I was actually converted to video ads instead of traditional ads. So those four things together can help you maintain your profitability. So let's put these figures into the real world and compare my profit margins now to how they looked back in September 2020. So to start with, let's take a quick look at the cost to see how they've increased for me. So I looked through my receipts earlier, or my invoices earlier, to see how costs stacked up. So September 2020, I was paying around £65 per cubic meter for the same product, shipping it to the UK from China. At the moment, that is £275, so 323% increase, which is pretty close to the stat I just showed you on the website. Unit cost has increased from $9.65 to $10.30, so 6.7%, so not quite as high as I showed you on the website, but still a reasonable increase. But on the plus side, and that's why it's green, is the exchange rate has improved from $1.28 to the GBP to $1.41. So on the left here, we have my profit calculations for 2020, and then as they look in 2021. So up first, the unit cost. So the unit cost was actually higher last year than it is now. So despite the fact on paper it looks like my unit cost is higher there, because of the exchange rate being better now, my actual unit cost is lower at the moment than it was last year. So for both orders, this was 1,000 units. The customs duty percentage is the same because it's the same product, so 5%. The freight forwarder, as you can see, was much cheaper last year, only £660 for that shipment, whereas this one was £2,781. The FBA referral fee is still around 15%. The only reason it's increased here is because of my increased sell-through price at $29.99 instead of $27.99. And then the fulfillment fee, which is the main thing that did increase as part of Amazon's fees increase, that is increased by 20p. So you can see here, I was selling at $27.99. I'm now selling at $29.99. So my profit per unit is just over £7, whereas last year it was £7.87. So yes, my profit margins have gone down a little bit. My ROI would have gone down as well, because despite the fact these look reasonably comparable, because I'm investing another kind of £2,000 in shipping, I'm investing a lot more money up front. However, for me, that is offset because I'm now VAT registered. So last year when I was importing stuff, this shipment, I would have had to pay £1,722 in VAT at the point of import, and then I've had to claim that back. So that would have hit cash flow. Now the rules have changed, so if you are VAT registered, you can choose not to pay that VAT and instead you just declare it on your next return. And that's called the postponed VAT accounting scheme. If you're not using it and you're VAT registered, I'd recommend checking it out as it will help with cash flow. So I don't have to pay this £2,119 up front. So actually my ROI in terms of actual cash flow aren't too dissimilar, despite the fact really my ROI has dropped because I'm investing so much more in shipping. So when you say you've got the £7.31 unit cost, if you divide that by 1,000, the freight forwarder cost, that's around £2.70. So you're saying your overall unit cost for an ROI perspective is around £10, whereas previously, if you divide this by 1,000, you've got about, I don't know, 66p. So if you add that on to the £7.54, it's just over £8. So if you're making close to £8 from an £8 investment, then your ROI is close to 100%. Whereas if we're only making £7 back from a £10 investment, then your ROI is around 70% instead. So hopefully you found it helpful seeing kind of how things have worked out for me. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button. It makes a big difference to the video. If you want to download these profit calculators, you can do so from the FBA Elite website, which is completely free to join. Just go to the resource section on there, go to the templates, and you'll see here we have the profit calculator that you can download there. We've got lots of other things such as discounts on there as well, so make sure you check them out. If you want to see more from me, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to talk to me and over 3,500 other sellers, make sure you're signed up at FBAelite.com. It's completely free. Got forums covering all areas of Amazon FBA, and I'll see you guys on the forums.